I just wanted to thank everyone, the director, the department, the managing director, the zoning chair, everyone for their comments, especially all the testifiers, for a lot of them waiting for a really long time to share their thoughts in 3 minutes or less. I want to apologize to the zoning chair, but I can't support this bill. I'll be voting no on this measure. And I did when it first came out, because of the way that it was transmitted, the amount of errors that were in it, the large amount of amendments that were needed. And my thought as a legislator has always been to try to move with my community so that they can understand why I'm voting the way I do, or why laws are being discussed the way they are, and what is the intent of it, and where are we going with it. And there's been sufficient confusion. And so for me, I can't support the bill because of the lack of stakeholder engagement, as I mentioned earlier, just really hoping and wishing that there is still time to really run this through our neighborhood boards. I mean, those are people that, are on the ground every day with us and could bring in a lot of good insight. The need for current enforcement right now, the need for consistency and uniformity, the 667% jump for biannual certificate renewal fees, not enough careful consideration of how to support and protect local families operating legally. The people of Hawaii come first before any other interests or industries. And it's unfortunate that the current illegal vacation rentals are still being allowed to operate. I was a legislator when Airbnb came forward and we discussed this, and I remember when we asked them to disclose the TMKs, they said no. So the fact that Bill 89 got as far as it did, where they were willing to do it, you guys passed an ordinance, I mean, that was gold. I just am sad that it's still not being enforced, and we heard all the reasonings, and I'm confident, the zoning chair will try to fix some of these things. I'm concerned that the measure makes significant changes to the ordinance governing transit accommodations on an accelerated schedule. Bill 89 was a good 4 years of deliberation and discussion and making sure that it was done correctly. And with the 11 pages of proposed amendments, it's really close to a gut and replace. I mean, it's because the bill is changing so dramatically from when it started, it's very hard. I had to read it many, many, many times to understand what parts were taken out, and if the problematic parts were removed, did the good ones stay? What did they change it to? I do think that gut and replace judgment by the Supreme Court of our state was clear that we need to make sure that the public is up and with us, and that we're being as transparent as possible when discussing laws and ordinance changes. I think that the original transmission of the bill was kind of the issue, because we didn't get exactly what was coming over, and then we got a letter with all of the proposed amendments right after it was transmitted. I'm confused why we're already on second reading and why we haven't kind of taken a step back to see if we should reassess the foundation of how the bill was introduced and if we're going where we wanted it to. I think that 4 years of deliberating over Bill 89 over enforcement is probably why people are frustrated that the enforcement's not happening. They released numbers in 2019 that 264 notices of violation were sent out, $132,600 of assessed fines, and only 2,000 paid. In 2020, 325 violations, 3 million of assessed fines, but only 31,000 were paid. In 2021, 43 issued, $337 of fines, and none were paid. And Jill Paulin, a testifier earlier, said that it took 20 years to shut down one of these illegal vacation rentals through the fees and liens on the property. So how can the public support a new bill about vacation rentals when the current bill rules haven't been enforced or maybe even enacted? Many of the testifiers were from Kailua area crying out for current enforcement, and we can do that right now. So why aren't we doing that right now? The current bill includes some inconsistent zoning rules and resort parcels, including Makaha and Ko'olina, and I'm glad that the zoning chair is going to take that up. Not all resort parcels will qualify as vacation rentals. A handful will, but they're determined arbitrarily. And the 50% TVU for the buildings, I mean, I cannot even imagine what would happen if they had to do a lottery and some people have to give it up, some don't, some have to register. I just think that needs to be thought through more carefully, because it's affecting local families that have been, some people, 70 years from the testimony today. Would people be coming to the city with lawsuits? Public policy needs to have consistency and uniformity. The Board of Realtors shared the reasons why people are legally doing month-to-month rentals. New property, home construction, renovations, residents who can't afford anything more than a month-to-month rental agreement, military, traveling nurses, families out of state, government contract workers, college students. How does this bill help local residents in this situation? Have we taken the time to consider that? Vlad Gurovich, Melissa Dudelau, Rennie Matthew, these were among a handful of testifiers that brought up some legitimate reasons for local people to rent month to month. The current state landlord-tenant code allows for month to month. So if we pass this, is in direct conflict with the state code, and if people continue the 30 days, they're actually still legal. The jump from 600 to 4,000, I just can't even imagine how that's beneficial to local residents that are legally complying. Why are legally complying people having to pay these high fees so that illegal people can get cracked down on? It doesn't make any sense. How many permits has DPP issued for Bill 7? We just went from 2 to 3. We need to issue permits for more affordable housing, because people who are forced into month-to-month rentals because of this bill will be forced straight out of Hawaii. So we need to consider the fact that increasing the affordable rental inventory is part of this. People wouldn't be, as Natalie Iwasa testified, wouldn't be in the month-to-month rental situation if it wasn't already so expensive to live here. The housing industry and the rental industry is very volatile right now in Hawaii. It's very, very expensive. That's why I asked, why doing this so fast? There are people that still can't afford to live to Hawaii, and we're gonna make it worse. The legislature is discussing ways we can make Hawaii more affordable, and we're proposing ways that it's gonna be more expensive. I think that people like Stu Simmons, Christine Otoza, who brought up these illegal vacation rentals, they wanna see this enforced, but that's not what's gonna happen unless we get more inspectors and we actually get this funded. I know that for me, as somebody that grew up as a resident here, I would never sell my property so that more generations of our family could live here, but many of these future generations are moving out. And some people who are legally using their property so that they don't lose it because they want to keep it in their family, they're legally doing it. Why are we criminalizing them? These are people we want to stay here in Hawaii. The current administration said they're committed to work with us, but we're committed to work with our communities. We need to move together. I can't support this version of the bill and didn't support it when it initially came out because of the pages and pages of confusion. I think the lack of engagement, the need for current enforcement now, consistency and uniformity, the jump in fees, the lack of careful consideration of how to protect legal residents, these are among some of my concerns, Chair. And I know that it'll change. I'm hoping it'll get better, but I do also want to throw out there that we should consider maybe taking a step back and doing this the right way. People just got out of COVID. They're saying that COVID's the reason why we're discussing this. I would argue that because of COVID, a lot of people have been put out of work. I would argue that because of COVID, people are in a very bad situation. Are we considering that people have been put into a rental situation that they didn't want to be in? I don't want us to see more local families move away. I think we should be careful and mindful in the way that we proceed forward with this. And I'm confident that if it does proceed, that everyone will take their best shot forward at improving it. But we might also need to take thought into taking a step back and seeing if we can lay a better foundation so we can do what's right for the residents of Hawaii. Thank you.